Hello there and welcome back to Full Times in a Podcast. You join us on the 29th of September, it's Monday night, and we come to you a couple of days after Celtic were held at home to Hibernian. Drew nothing each in a pretty dull game. It was decent enough performance first half, but started to fall away in the second half. It sees Celtic drop to second in the league after Hearts beat Falkirk comfortably, so 2 points behind Hearts now in the league after 6 games. Plenty to discuss about yet another draw so early in the season, another goalless draw, and all 4 days are here, so we'll just discuss that. And obviously we've got a big European game coming up on Thursday as well. Tony, I'll come at you. It was a lot of people getting into it. Like, I know Hibs, the previous few games, they'd failed to beat Rangers, they'd failed to beat Falkirk. I thought it was going to be pretty comfortable, and I thought we played alright the first half, but then second half there was little to no creativity, and I think Brendan threw every striker on at one point or another, and we just couldn't get that breakthrough. What did you make of the performance, and is it worry you that it's yet another game we've come out of without scoring a goal?
I actually thought the performance was okay. I don't think it was fantastic, and I don't think it was dreadful. I thought it was just okay, and we should have won the game based on the play. But I guess it is concerning, but it can't be a surprise to anybody that we're struggling for goals. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. We've had so much attacking threat taking out the team in the last kind of 12, 13 months. O'Reilly, Kuhn, Kyogo, Ida. So this isn't a surprise. We've kind of set ourselves up for games like this. There's going to be more games like that until January, and maybe after January, depending on what kind of business we do or don't do. So we've kind of nullified ourselves by our transfer activity. And I know obviously there's nothing we can do about that now, but it's important to give context. Like, as much as I think Iniacho's going to do as a turn, you've went for Kyogo and Ida to Iniacho and Johnny Kenny. I think Ida, as much as people slated him, he did score 20 goals last season. Is Johnny Kenny going to get his 20 goals? I highly doubt it. So, and that's it. I mean, Kuhn you've taken out, he gets 20 goals as well. Is Tanecki going to get 20 goals? Maybe, maybe he could. Is Balikwisha? I don't think so. So, and then you've got a kind of unhappy Dies and Maida in the mix as well. So I think it's difficult for me really to give an opinion on a game without providing the wider context of the board have put us in this position. They have failed miserably in that transfer window, and this is what you've ended up with. So it's a bit of it's a bit of a disaster in terms of the window's shut now, and this is what we'll need to just go on with. So it's disappointing, but look, a 0-0 draw against Hibs isn't a disaster. Obviously, Hearts won at the weekend. They were a very good start. I still see them as a potential threat, so I don't think we should be writing them off. I know some people probably just go, they'll follow me like Aberdeen, but I don't think Tony Bloom and his outfit is the same as Aberdeen. Aberdeen have kind of crashed and burned since their little spell. I don't think they'll happen with Hearts. I think with Tony Bloom and what he's able to do, they'll probably strengthen again in January. Obviously, Rangers won very late on. I think they're maybe 7 points behind us now. You don't know if they're going to go on a run or not. They're a very, very difficult team to predict, if I'm honest. But in terms of the game itself, I just thought it was okay. I don't think we were ever in any real danger of losing it. But we've just kind of, the board have put us in a position now where you're throwing on Forrest and Kenny, and that's not really what you want. That's not going to get people off their seats at Celtic Park if you're throwing on players like this. So, it's disappointing to drop points, but still in a very good position. I'm not going to just start slating all the players. I've seen some people have just decided Balikwisha should get to fuck and he's finished. I don't really subscribe to that. I don't think you can really judge him yet. He might turn out to be a poor player, but I'm willing to give him a bit of a chance. Engels, he seems to get it every time he plays because he was signed for 11 million. To remind everybody, he didn't decide that price tag. He was signed for 11 million because of the Celtic board. So just remember that when you're getting annoyed at Arnie Engels, it's not actually his fault, his price tag. It's the Celtic's board's fault, which is a common theme. A lot of things going wrong at Celtic are actually down to these people, but I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But overall, 2 points dropped, disappointing, but you just need to move on.
Aye, that's it. It was a disappointing one. I think it was a bit different to like the Ibrox 0-0 or the two Kairat ones where we played really poor. It was obviously disappointing, and it is worrying how little goals we're scoring. But I think this is just a complete effect of the state of the transfer window we had, where we're now sitting with, as you mentioned, guys like Johnny Kenny coming off the bench, who earlier in the window we were negotiating with Bolton to sell him, and he's now sort of second in command. Shinya Mara's just dropped off the face of the earth since Ibrox. Ian Atchell actually thought he played alright. A few chances that if he's a bit sharper probably takes one, at least on Saturday. I know he had a goal disallowed as well. And then, as you say, goals like from Nicholas Kuhn and Kyogo have still not been properly replaced, and you've got Daiza Maeda, who is obviously going to give his all, but you've got a player that doesn't really want to be there if you want to lay it out bluntly. But Andy, what was your thoughts on it? As I said, I thought it sounds terrible to say, but it wasn't the worst 0-0 draw we've had this season, but ultimately disappointing to drop any points at home.
I think that, as has been said, that performance-wise, it was no by any stretch of the imagination the worst we've been. I thought we were decent in spells, we were creating chances. The statisticians amongst us all will tell us I think the expected goals was 3 or something like that, which by all accounts is reasonably high. I think possession stats were fucking through the roof and all, and as I say, to be fair, Hibs actually surprised me. I thought they would have had maybe a go just for what I've watched them for the brief period we're in Europe and anything I've seen of them since Gray's really been in charge. I thought they would have had maybe a go, but they didn't. They just completely tried to shut up shop and just fuck the ball up the park, hopefully for a Bowie knock-on or for Boy to run onto, so they didn't really try and play any football. But we created chances that should have seen us win the game, and on another day we probably do score a couple. I think if the first goes in, then you do. They need to come out and you end up with a couple more. And in an actual, obviously, the one he misses for whatever it is, 6 yards out or something, cross for Maeda, which I was as shocked as anybody found his man. You know what he's like. That could, more often than not, you see that fucking go out for a goal kick or go out for a throw in or something stupid. But it was a perfect cross, and obviously we've not converted it. The goal that goes in is offside, and then there was one the second half. He's must have been a couple of inches away from tapping it in. There was chances. I think Engels had a decent chance the first half and all. So I don't buy into people just wanting to fucking shout the odds and shout about the stale football and this and that and the next thing. I think we created enough chances in that game to win it comfortably. When we had to call upon the reserves at the bench, they just weren't up to standard. And to be honest, that's no just a byproduct of this transfer window being a fucking disgrace. That's a byproduct of the one before that being a fucking disgrace and all. So it's 2025 and we're bringing on James Forrest to try and win a game of football, and we're bringing on Johnny Kenny to try and win games of football, and that the outcome of that is you don't. You're really bringing on 2 players who I would argue probably wouldn't get in that Hibs team. So that's a sign of where we're at. But I don't think overall the performance was that bad. I thought we were decent in spells, could have been better, but I've seen us play far, far worse and create far less and look far less threatening. So I'm not on the sort of panic button bandwagon that some people seem desperate to go on. And on some of the players as well, I thought Sriracha actually was probably the biggest takeaway for me. I was actually really impressed with him. Just desperate to go forward, desperate to fuck any chance he gets. He's putting the ball in the box, and by all accounts, obviously we've seen it already with the cross he put in for Maeda when he scored. But his crossing seems pretty good. So I think we're really set at left back. Engels again is Tony's right. It's the price tag for people there, but to be honest, I think the midfield three that started the game, he's the only one that constantly wanted to go forward. He always looks to try and go forward with the ball. And McGregor gets a free run, who always is playing 5-yard passes backwards and sideways. Listen, for Engels, all his faults and for all he's in and out of the team and all the rest of it, the boy works his arse off and he wants to go forward every time he's got the ball. That alone is something that I think needs to be encouraged more in our team. I think across the field it was there's some disappointing. These results will happen. You're not going to go and win every game. We know that. We've all seen better Celtic teams drop points to worse sides, but I'm not totally disheartened. I think it's a different sort of ball game if we came away for that 0-0 when we never looked like winning it and we didn't have chances and we didn't sort of create enough to win the game, and which we did. I think you start getting worried when that becomes a pattern. Whereas I think if we went and played again like that against them, we'd beat them comfortably. So I'm, as I said, I'm not hitting any panic buttons. I think we're hopefully coming into spells of better form. And listen, this is the squad we've got. These are the players we've got. They're going to have to go on with. There's enough there to go and win. most weeks. Whether or not there's enough to do that while tackling Europe, that'll remain to be seen. But and just to touch on as well, like Tony mentions Balikwisha, I think it's right. People just total doom merchants. They want to be the first to say, "I told you he was shite" and everything else. And you see, all we can. And listen, he might be shite, but fucking hell, the guy's been in and out the team, getting played out of position, and the whole place has been a bit of a bin fire. Like, I can forgive him not hitting the ground run, particularly when wingers are notoriously the most inconsistent players on the pitch anyway. But if he is shite and if it is poor, then that lies with the blame of certainly no the manager. That lies with the blame of the recruitment team in the boardroom who sanctioned these signings. Nobody else. But aye, onwards and upwards, Dan. I'm no disappointed, but I think there's some positives to take away. As I say, we created chances, and Sadachi was looking good, and Taneki was threatening as well. And Nacho seems to be getting fitter and fitter and looking better every time I see him. So, aye, positives to take.
Aye, definitely. I think people are obviously right to be concerned. I mean, you're calling it a bandwagon, but people will just point out the amount of draws we've had so far. But I do think that one was a bit different. I think we had maybe 24 shots or something. Like, on another day, at least one of the chances goes in. I think we had a few. I think Johnny Kenny had a header. Ian Atchell had a header at the back post before he gets subbed as well. And look, on another day, we would have got the win. Hibs, I think, tried to just sort of shut up shop. They didn't really offer it in attacking, although I know they had probably one of the best chances in the game when I think it was one of their defenders. That chance in the first half that he put on the bar, I think that was a really glaring chance that any other player would have probably put in rather than the defender that was up for the free kick. Danny, I'll come to you. What do you think it is? Is it a consequence of the transfer window, or to play devil's advocate, is it does Brendan need to be doing more in these type of games? Obviously we've mentioned the draws we've had this far this season, and there's also been people who are wanting more from Rodgers' team. Like, I've pointed out that we've had sort of last minute winners against St Mirren and Kilmarnock as well, so would you be, as Andy said, is probably too early for a panic button, but would you be concerned at this sort of trend of games where we're failing to convert chances?
Aye, of course. I mean, we've scored 0 goals again this season. Of course it's concerning. You want the team to be scoring every week. But I didn't see most of Saturday's game. I was working on Saturday until 3 o'clock, so by the time I get in and get away, I got the last half an hour and I thought we looked alright. I was texting like yous during the game, and other folk were saying we were playing well. Checked the stats and we should have scored a few goals. I seen the highlights and we definitely missed a few chances, which in another day should have been in. I thought they ran out of steam in the last kind of 10 minutes. Even in injury time, I didn't think we looked like scoring, but you're asking who's to blame. I mean, it's the board are obviously not. I don't think it's all their fault. You want the players and the manager to do more, but when you get to a point where, right, the window's shut, we know the board didn't do their job there and it's a shambles, but the players and the manager have got to kind of come in a bit and say, right, this is what it's got to be like until January. I mean, we're getting into September and we're still hearing, we're getting into October and we're still hearing about Maeda spitting the dummy out about not getting a move. Like, just fucking get over it, man. Like, you've been a brilliant professional for 3 years, 3.5 years for us. Just fucking keep your head on for 4 months. You're getting to play in Europe, you're getting to put yourself in a short window. And all we're hearing now is, he's been promised a move and he wants away. Well, fucking just get over it. I'm sick hearing about the August transfer window, players that wanted to go. The whole thing should be focused on players that we should have brought in and the positions that we should have filled. You know, and folk are like Maeda, we're getting caught up with Maeda, and like Saturday's game, you look at it as well, that's the consequence of the board not doing their job. You're going to get these games where it's going to be more and more games where we're drawing out on each and where we don't create a chance. I mean, you're waiting on Hibs scoring the winner on Saturday just to put a tin hat on it. Thankfully they didn't get that, but it's just, people, like, it's all back the team, sack the board until the team don't win a game and then everybody's shite and they all need to go. Like, we're in this situation because of really poor mismanagement of the transfer window. There's got to be more games like this, so if folk want to pile on the players and the manager, then they'll probably get a lot more practice going into January, because we've got to keep going through that. Luckily for us, we're in a bit of a situation where we could probably afford it. I can't see Hearts winning every game this year. Rangers snuck by Livingston yesterday. So I don't think us dropping points is going to cost us the league at this point. You know, who knows what fucking happen, but you know, there's got to be more games this season where this sort of thing happens, just because the team are totally underprepared. I mean, I put a tweet out about Engels today, and I thought, I got a text the whole time saying Engels has been the best player in the park, and I went on Twitter and everybody else was saying something different. So I watched a bit of the game. I thought Engels was trying to knock the ball forward. I actually thought he was trying. I actually think our midfield's holding his back this season. The defence seems to be pretty solid enough. In attack, we're creating chances, but maybe not scoring them yet, but we are creating them. And Ian Atchell's shown that he can put the ball in the net. Maeda can put the ball in the net. So if we can get a wee bit of a kind of killer touch out of Taneki, we might be alright. But in midfield, like the three of them are all too similar. Like McGregor's getting a lot of stick, which I don't think's justified. I think he's not a great start of the season, I can admit that. But he keeps the ball moving. He might play it back, and him and that, they might not, him and Scales might play 1-2s with each other, and it drives me nuts, like, it drives her away. But McGregor's no, actually. People are going about McGregor regressing. I don't think that's true. I just think the other two that are next to him are not really doing anything of note, so there's more pressure on McGregor to do something, and he's just kind of keeping the ball moving, trying to do what he's doing. He looks like he's lost a yard of pace. He was never the quickest, so he's probably going to, like, retreat even further. But like Hatate's had a poor start of the season. Negren, I just don't think he's a midfielder. I think there's enough, we've seen it enough times now this season where he's no there. And I don't know where he plays in the team. It's not a midfield free. I know he only got 20 minutes on Saturday, but he had a great bit of play for the goal on Wednesday night last week. But just, it's like, he kind of flatters to deceive a bit. So the midfield, nobody runs after the ball, nobody gets into the box. No midfielder joins the attack. They don't shoot enough getting the ball away. I just think they're holding his back. He's got to change something. I don't know if he changes the shape or he changes personnel. I don't know. I thought McCowan again looked quite bright at the weekend, but I think if he gets the midfield right, you'll start to see his maybe return to a bit of form and score more goals. But because of the actions of the lack of action in the transfer window, these games you're probably going to see them popping up more and more until January, when we can all pretend to ourselves that the board will fix it and they'll sign hundreds of players, and they probably won't. So it was a game that was waiting to happen. You know, I don't subscribe to being lucky because you scored 8 goals a few times. I think you keep going to the end, you make a chance, you score it. That's what FIP was all about. The game's last 90 plus minutes, but there is a sense that if Celtic don't score early, they're probably going to draw on each. And at half time on Saturday, and then when I got in to see the rest of the game, it was kind of looked like it was going to play out like that. So probably not the best position to comment whether it's time to panic or no. But I just think we need a spark in the team, and if you're not going to get one, because you can't go sign a player now, it's going to need to come for somebody that's maybe not getting a look in at the minute, or maybe somebody needs to change position or so. I don't know, but the team's crying right out for a spark.
I think that's true. I think you made a lot of good points here. It is on the team, but as I say, I think it's a direct sort of consequence of how the squad is, and look, we should still have enough to beat teams at home, like the Hibs and whoever. But I think there is a bit of spark missing. It probably is in that midfield area. Like, I just think that whoever sort of comes in there just doesn't seem to, like, there seems to be sort of negatives to whoever's playing. Like, McGregor seems to regress a bit. McCowan, I think, one week does really well, and then when he gets a start, sometimes doesn't provide as much. Hatate, I've said it a million times on here, if he's not winning near a game, he's sometimes a bit of a passenger. Engels just gets it from everybody, and then Bernardo's barely features well, and Negren, who's probably been the most effective in terms of goals and assists from midfield this season, he's been a regular feature on here for us, saying that we don't think he's a midfielder. So I think that midfield being a bit disjointed at the moment isn't helping the team. Taneki obviously made his home debut on Saturday. It wasn't as bright as he's previous to, so all we can do is just hope that he keeps that form going, and sort of European games and whatnot are coming up. But I think, look, we should get better as the weeks go on. I truly believe that Ian Atchell's going to become our first choice striker now, just from the early sort of things I've seen from him. I think he looks very good. He links up play well, lifts out chances. I think he's going to be a real asset for us this season. And the right hand side's obviously a bit of a problem area, because do you put Maeda out there, or you've had Forrest there, Yang there, Balikwisha? Like, it's in hindsight, like, I don't know, dwell too much on it, because we need to move on from that transfer window. But the fact we could have probably got about 20 million for Daizen Maeda and went out and got a right effective right winger to come in like that. That would have probably, I think, solved a lot of your problems. But it's wonderful hindsight. But I'm not overly worried about the league so far. Obviously, Hearts are going well. We'll play them next month at Tynecastle, which will be a massive game. But I think you've seen me that Aberdeen team last season where they kept it going to about November, and then we thumped them in the semi-final of the League Cup, and then they sort of fell away, and now they're sitting bottom of the league. So like, it's up to Hearts if they want to keep that going. But I do have my doubts that they'll maintain it for a sustained period. But we've obviously got that advantage over Rangers. I know they got a late winner yesterday, but you're still at 7 ahead of them after 6 games. You would have took that at the start of the season. They're probably going to be our nearest rivals yet again, so we're still in a healthy position in that regard. But I think in all, there's clearly something alright. There's a lot stale about the club, whether that is the players, the manager, or the boardroom. I think there's, depending on what supporters you speak to, there's probably people you want ready at every level of the club. But Tony, I'll come at you. Before I move on to the Braga game, we'll touch on the off-field stuff. Since we were on, the Celtic Fans Collective announced a free match silent package where they will be silent for, on Saturday it was the first 12 minutes, but the Braga game it's going to be 29 minutes to represent 29 days since the initial statement came out from the collective. And then the Motherwell game will be 32 minutes to reflect 32 days without a response, if there is no response by that time, of course. How did you think it went on Saturday? And it does seem to have been a bit divisive in terms of people wondering how effective it will be. What was your thoughts on it?
Well, there's certainly been a lot of chat about it, and it was kind of what I expected in terms of people kind of coming out against it. Obviously, you've got the buzzwords, faithful through and through, over and over, support the team, give back your season tickets. There's tens of thousands that would love your season tickets. All this kind of shite, if I'm totally honest. Obviously, the idea behind the silence is to show that without the fans, the stadium's a morgue, and without the fans, the club's nothing, which is totally correct. Now, I think the board will be happy with these kind of protests because that's what they like. They like silence. They don't want to communicate. What I don't understand, and this is maybe where I've kind of hummed and hawed about where I think the collective should go. Not that I actually have any say in what direction it will go, but I feel as though their statements are really, really well put, and they're very inclusive, and they're really well thought out, and they're not having a go at anybody. And then you read the comments online, and it's get you to fuck, get everybody to fuck, get your season ticket up, don't come back. And these are the kind of people in the fan base I think you just need to just move on with it. There's no point trying to convince these people. They've made their mind up. If you try and debate them, they have an argument made up in their head ready to come back. I mean, usual stuff. Do you want David Murray to be the owner? Do you want the 49ers to be the owner? Do you want to go bust like Rangers? You want to spend all the money in the bank? You're like, how do you argue with these people? Like, they're talking absolute nonsense, and they're not going to change their position. So for me, I would just be going, well, whatever you do, these people are going to come out against it while we are 7 points clear of Rangers. It's as plain and simple as that. So you'd as well just forget about these kind of people and just move on with them. I know that's quite harsh, but there is some fans that just don't want change. That's up to them, but there's no point trying to convince them or trying to appease them. You're as well just moving forward with a kind of plan in order to drive change. In terms of the silence, I think it will probably, again, there'll be people who haven't started a song in decades that'll start with Hail Hail or Over and Over just because they think this is a campaign ran by just the Green Brigade. I seen another guy, I don't know if it was Facebook, basically saying, I hope this isn't happening, Braga. I'm taking my daughter to her first European game. And you're like, what do you think the boys in the Green Brigade are? Like performing monkeys where they've just to sing for your entertainment? I mean, I know when I go to a game, I am entitled to nothing for any other fan in that stadium, never mind for them to put effort into singing. So I think there will be singing. I don't think it will be silent. I think there'll be a large group of fans. It'll be a faithful through and through contest. People that don't ever actually sing. So for me, I think this is what I think. Obviously, the collective's thousands of people. I think they should call for a complete and utter boycott of all all Celtic merchandise to try and hit the Adidas deal. Because let's be honest, these people don't care if you're silent. They don't. They want us to be silent. See if you could promise the board that every game at Celtic Park would be absolute silence and there would never be a protest again. They would take it. They're not interested in anything like that. They would rather we shut up. So for me, I would hit them in the pocket. I'm not against going to the front door and having people there for the board entering. Again, I know people be going, oh, wait a minute, I'm talking about a peaceful protest where you put your feelings across that they should be removed. Would it be uncomfortable for them? Aye, it probably would be. It'd be a lot more uncomfortable than a silence. And I think there should be a campaign to make sure that everybody is reminded that, see, every fault at Celtic is this board's fault. Like, everything is down to them. Stadium's a shithole, that's down to them no investing. Transfer window was symbolic, that's down to them no investing. You think we wasted money in Adamida? Well, they set up the transfer team. They're at fault for that. You think Rodgers is a rat? Well, they brought him back. You think Rodgers is ravaging the club, trying to cause disharmony? Well, guess what? Not only have they not sacked him, they've gave him money to spend, so they're at fault for that, if that's your belief. So whatever way you look at it, you think the refs are corrupt? Oh well, Celtic have not really done anything about that, so they're to blame for that. The board are to blame for everything, and I think that's the direction the collective should go in, because I think you can back it up. I think everything you look at, you can back up the board are at fault, and I think they are. I think they're making such an arse of so many different parts of the club. I said it even a few weeks ago, but the foundation and their game was poorly attended. I think that's on the board for the behaviour. The silences are because of the board. Nobody wants to go to a Celtic European game and be silent. Nobody wants that. The Game Brigade don't want that. The boys don't want that. I'm sure the thousands of fans that are connected to the affiliations do not want to do that. I'm sure they want to sing all the whole game. But this board have put the fans in a position now where they won't listen. They released a disgraceful statement that was an insult to every fan, and every fan should be pissed off about it. So maybe this is the only way to kind of show them up. As I say, there probably is other ways. For me, I would go full steam ahead to trash the Adidas deal. I know people will be going bananas at that, going, you want to hurt the club. I want to have these people held to account, and I think if we lost money in the Adidas deal and it ended up with having some of these people out that have cost us hundreds of millions for failed Champions League qualifications, I think that would be worth it. That's my opinion. So I think there needs to be a kind of... There probably will be more action, because I don't think the club are going to reach out. I don't think they want to meet with the collective. They want other fans to fight with the collective and try and cause more disarray. I think they're kind of, I've said before, they're backing on other fans to kind of kibosh this, and I hope other fans don't fall for it. I think some of them have, which is really unfortunate, where they go, oh, I hate the board, but... Like, no, you don't need to say but. Like, you hate the board, right? Okay, good. Just remember, people aren't silent because they don't support Celtic. They're silent to send a message to this board. The board could stop this in a minute. They could come out and say, look, here's their answers to these 7 questions. We've sacked whoever this rat was that went to the Sun about the manager. I guess some people seem to be convinced they know who that is. If they do, why that person hasn't been sacked and banished for Celtic Park, I don't know. Another major failing. Come out and give the fans something, and then say, we're reviewing our policies for the transfer window, we promise it's going to be better. See, it's as simple as that. That would probably kibosh the whole collective thing, because that's when a lot of fans will kind of back off and go, all right, okay. But they don't even want to do that. They're that arrogant. It's just, it's crazy stuff. And again, it's difficult to work out how many fans are actually on board. I think a lot of the people online that are going off their head about this protest, I think a lot of them probably don't go to the games anyway, which is a bit mad. But yeah, for me, I think the next step has to be to boycott the merchandise. I'm not opposed to peacefully protesting at the front door to make our feelings kind of known, because silence doesn't do it. I'm not against singing against them for 90 minutes. I think you need to look at all kind of ideas, and silence against Braga for 30 minutes or 29 minutes isn't really important in the grand scheme of 7 failed qualification attempts out of 9 with hundreds of millions lost. Like, this is so much bigger than a couple of silences. And just because we're ahead of Rangers now and we look as though we'll probably be in a good position to win the league, eventually this board are going to die on their arse, and we're going to get left behind as a club because of their poor practices. So yeah, look, I'm behind the collective. Part of me thought we should try and make a kind of genuine corporate governance idea kind of thing to get fans inside. And I thought, what if I get down the Gallagate and start talking to people about corporate governance? They're going to tell me to fuck off. You're like, I know that's obviously going to play a part, but I guess it can't really be a major part, because the Celtic fans really care about corporate governance. If we win this league, do they fuck? So it needs to be, I think it just needs to be, anything that goes wrong, just remind everybody the board are at fault. That would be the route I'd be going down. So yep, there you go. That's my piece on it.
Danny, you anything to add on that? Obviously, as I mentioned, it has been sort of the most spoken about in terms of being people wondering whether it was the right course of action. How I know you didn't see the game live, but was it your thoughts on the actual reaction overall to it?
I don't know, I felt at 92 minutes when the team were chasing a winner and there was a splitter and a sack of the board, it didn't sit right with me. I don't know why. But yeah, I was totally in favour of it when it happened against Kyra. I don't know if it was just, again, I don't know. It could have been anything. I don't know if it was just because I thought maybe we were going to score, or I didn't think we were going to score, but maybe I thought we backed the team. I don't know. It's that right with me with Kyra. I don't know, it didn't feel right, but then at the same time I'm not there, so it's not really up to me, it's up to the folk that are there, and they've paid their money to be there, they can say what they want. Totally agree with everything Tony says. I tried to say this in our group chat a couple of weeks ago about the folk, because I know they were talking about trying to convince people, but yeah, some folk aren't going to be convinced, and you just need to move on, and when change starts to happen, they'll be the first to come along and make it like they were there all the time. The only thing that'll get people on side other than that is if the unthinkable was to happen and we don't win the league. Then you'll get folk that are jumping on the bandwagon because they're looking for a reason to, somebody to blame. So, but if you get it on it, like, look at the Celtic fans, like, they're trying to mobilise. There's groups of people that are trying to get something happening because Tony's laid out all the failures for you there, but some people are out there trying to make something happen and they're just being met with just total blind opposition, like, straight away. Like, again, I'm just going to repeat what Tony said, but that statement Celtic put out a couple of weeks ago on the Saturday night, like, that was a slap in the face to every single Celtic fan, whether you're a season ticket holder, whether whether you've bought the last 12 strips, whether you've not bought a strip in years. That was a slap in the face to you. And yeah, there's still some people out there and I don't know if it's like, maybe it's the Catholic guilt, but somebody's always watching. It's almost as if, like, they think they'll go to hell if they say something bad about Celtic, or, it's just, I don't understand it. Like, you see us on Saturday, and we're a bit of a team on our arse at the minute. Like, unless we get a spark, like, you're going to see more results, more performances and things like that. Like, it's just, like, we're in this mess because of the board, and the manager's kind of managing with one hand behind his back. Folk don't like him for something that happened 6 years ago, no matter if, no, totally disregard the fact he came back. He's won 4 out of 6 trophies. He was a goalkeeping error away for a treble, and he's probably gave us our best performances in Europe for many, many a year. And yet, folk still hang on to something that happened 6 years ago, which he's been justified. And the board keep, even though he's come back, the board keep justifying his decision 6 years ago, every fucking transfer window. And yet, you just get folk that they don't like him, he's an arsehole, he's a rat, blah, 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 he's got to go. So, maybe they want somebody that's merely a yes man for the board in there, I don't know. But it's just, I get really frustrated when I read some people, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Listen, though, I don't agree with the silence stuff, just because I think you give folk that thing where they think, oh, well, I'm there to support Celtic, which everybody's there today. Like, let's not kid ourselves. But I'll be supporting the boys and girls that go and are going to stay silent. More power to them. The collective are trying to do something that's at least something, and hopefully there's more success for it in the future. But like Tony said, you just need to move on for these people that aren't in favour, because when change does start to happen, they'll come round as if they were there the whole time, and then you can start moving forward as a total support. But stop trying to convince folk, just press ahead with your plans, I'd imagine, and hopefully we get somewhere. But there's some really good people involved, and a lot of folk for different perspectives are getting involved and trying to make something happen, so more power to them, and hopefully we see some success on that front soon.
Aye, definitely. And Andy, just to finally, and you want to add on that, and do you think that the naysayers are right, that our players will just collapse and fall in a heap to the ground if we fans that support this action are silent for 29 minutes on Thursday night? I mean, or do you think the professional footballers will be able to just get on with it?
No, God forbid a professional football player should be asked to play with the boys in the Green Brigade singing. Do you know what's funny? And I'm not going to go and fucking repeat everything that Danny and Tony have just said. I pretty much agree with all you, and I've said it on here for long enough, my thoughts. And so I'll no go around and just rephrase everything they've just said. I was just thinking it, but it's funny with these people who are, as you say, acting as if they're performing monkeys and no, I want to go to that game and you'll sing for me and all the rest of it. And it's funny because it's the same people who, see when the board were banning sections of fans and banning the Green Brigade and banning, you didn't see them having a go at the board then for saying, oh, you'll take my atmosphere away. What, think about the players. Think about the hard done by boys that will need to go play football without somebody singing for them. And it just comes right back to that whole, they will never criticise the club and listen, whoever's coming with his news are coming with his, that's it. Danny's right. These people act as if they've always been there and they always fought in the same corner as everybody else when change happens and when we get to where we want to be. It's just ignore them at this point. It's the best thing that can be done, because the only thing, or the only people that can convince them and bring them on side at this point is Rangers winning the league. That's when you get the people on side, because quite frankly, that's the only fucking thing that they care about, is just being better than them and not being them and no going bust and fucking blah 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 all that shit. So I agree totally with everything the boys say. And listen, I'm sure there's a million ways for people to go about it. You might think a silence is the right way. You might think fucking chucking one of the statues through the front window is the best way. You might think never buying an half pie in Park. There's a million ways, and I'm sure fucking hundreds of them are going to have to get explored, because it's not going to be a short thing, and you're not going to get a response for them soon, because they've got no interest in treating fans with any sort of respect and giving them a respectable answer. But if people have got ideas, talk about it, send it to the collective, tell them that it's not just a couple of people sitting heading away for everybody. There's lots and lots and lots of supporters clubs and memberships and affiliations and whatever else involved. So listen, it's the mere ideas are welcome. But I agree with everything that's been said.
I'm not going to add too much. I think I agree, and look, people are talking about it. If you've got maybe a problem with the collective silence and the board silence, and I think people's priorities are in the wrong place, but that's not for me to tell people where to put their priorities. I will just move on. So we do have another game this week, and Tony, I'll come to you. It was a decent enough. When we spoke last week, I think we all sort of agreed that a draw would be a decent result in Belgrade. We got a one each draw. It could have been more after going ahead, but our second Europa League game sees us face Braga, who beat Feyenoord last week. What are you expecting from this one? Is at Celtic Park. I think if we come out of the first two games with 4 points, we'll be in a strong position in the league phase, but I think the next two games we've got are Braga at home and Sturm Graz at home, so it's really where we need to start picking up wins to put ourselves in a position to qualify from this league phase.
Yeah, I think, as is the case with Europe, you always kind of target your home games. I know they lost domestically after their win against Feyenoord. I think it might be quite a tricky game, you know. And obviously, the first 29 minutes, there's no good. I doubt there's going to be much backing for or no backing, but there's no much going to be much atmosphere, which will probably suit Braga. I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw, just based on that seems to be a kind of popular scoreline for us at the moment. We're not really free flowing. I think Braga would probably be happy with that, so I think it's going to be a draw. That's my prediction. Don't get me wrong, I think we're capable of winning. Just need to hope that the kind of players are up for it and can kind of drive the crowd on, and I'm sure for the 29th minute onwards it will be a great response, unless obviously the board do the right thing, come out and address the fans correctly and actually end the silence, and they can actually change all this. Hopefully they do that, but that would mean caring about Celtic, so they probably won't.
Danny, what about you? What's your thoughts on this game coming up? It's one that Celtic should be looking to take all 3 points. So I know I've mentioned that impressive win for Braga, but that's their only win in the last 5. Like, as Tony mentioned, they lost at the weekend in the league, and the 3 league games before that they had 2 draws and a defeat as well, so they're not in great form themselves. Celtic expecting us to, especially after the 29th minute, make home advantage count?
I fuck knows. I mean, we said last week that a draw in Belgrade was a good result. I still believe it was, but we need to go solidify that and make sure that when we look back at the end of the group or the league phase, you're saying, well, do you know what, that was a good point. And that's, you need to win your home games that way. So we need to target it as a win. It's ridiculous kick-off time, and none of us will be there. None of us will, I don't think. Will we be there? Will we get to see for the 20? Probably half time before we get to see it, because we've got a European away day of our own this week. But the 29th minute thing, I mean, what happens if Celtic score? Folk will obviously cheered. If the players give the fans something to celebrate or something to support, then the crowd are obviously going to react to that. They're no fucking robots. So hopefully the day, I'm kind of with Tony. I can see it being tight, but just for to be different, I'll say we'll shade it 1-0 and Iheanacho will get the winner, because I've got this. The way Celtic season's going, I think Iheanacho's going to be the top scorer in the Europa League, and at the time, and get a big move in January.
Fuck's sake, that would be some turning events. But Andy, what's your thoughts on it? Last week you gave us the lowdown that Arnautovic was going to be Belgrade's main man. They did in fact get the equaliser against us last week. Who are we looking at for in this Braga team?
Funnily enough, a name that we all know will be playing for Braga, Lager Bielka, will be their centre half. So yeah, it's probably written in the stars he'll fucking score a header or something. But I mean, there's a couple of right good players in that team, like Hal Moutinho, everybody will know if he's playing for Wolves. To be fair, I think he must be the last age. He's a 30-year-old now, he must be touching 40. But you know, a guy like that, the sort of the ability he's got is timeless. They paid big money for a forward for Barca, Pau Victor, and I thought they've got an boy in loan for PSG, Moscardo, who's really well thought of. But I can't see past anything else other than Lager Bielka scoring a header at some point. And I just don't think that we've got the squad to be gone bouncing between games like Hibs at home and then playing fucking Braga at a stupid o'clock kick-off time. It's just got all the makings for me, a tie that we make an arse of. I feel like I've seen that movie a million times. So I hope I'm proving wrong. I hope we go out all guns blazing. Listen, me, everybody else would love to see them score early and give the fans something to cheer. That's the way football should be. The team should be giving the fans something to cheer, but some people tend to think otherwise. But I'm cautious about the game, Dan, to be honest with you. I think I can see us making a bit of an arse of it. And I just think it's got all the makings of a bit of a disaster class in Europe for Celtic. But I'll go for... I'll not predict a loss because I hate doing that, but I'll go for a 1-each draw. That's what I'll go with.
That's fine, then you can tell us when we hang up the mics that you fancy us to get beat 2-0. But no, I think it'll be a tight game. As I say, Braga struggling in terms of their form, but did pick it up last week. I think it will be a tight game. I actually like Danny's prediction of 1-0 Iheanacho. I think that, look, over the sort of last few years, we've got better in these sort of games. Obviously, a good Champions League campaign last year. I know it's different squad, but I'll go 1-0 as well, but I'll go for a different scorer. I'll go for Arne Engels to get the goal. I think he needs something to go for him, and hopefully this is sort of a performance we can start to build momentum again, because obviously, as I say, next few games in the Europa League at home, we're going to want to get as many points on the board and look to go for top 8, if not at least qualify from the top 24. But as Danny alluded to, we're all away in a beautiful Eastern European city on Thursday, so we'll land no long before kick-off, so we will catch it. But I think the only way you'll hear from us directly after that game is if we all do our spending money in the first night, so look out for the Patreon launching on our Twitter if that happens. But no, we'll be back after the Motherwell game on Sunday. Bit worse for wear after spending 4 days in each other's company. Maybe know how to talk to each other after spending 4 days in each other's company, but we'll soon see, and maybe with a few tales to tell as well, but that remains to be seen. If you're enjoying the show, then let us know what you think the score's going to be in that Braga game and Motherwell game as well, as Celtic look to get back on track at home to Motherwell, who are going alright in the league as well, so it'll be a tough game I'm sure as well. We will speak to you at some point next week early to discuss that and review the 2 games, and hopefully be discussing 2 Celtic wins. Make sure you're following us on social media or YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Just search for 4 Times in a Podcast, you'll find us, and we'll speak to you next week. Hello.